and welcome once again to Exit Strategy. This is the podcast where we ask comedians, what would you do with your life if comedy was no longer a part of it? Your identity is stripped away. No more comedy. What's in store for you? What are your plans? We have a great episode today, a really fun episode, conversation I very much enjoyed. But before I get to this week, I just wanted to say about last week, I got some really positive feedback about my episode last week with Steve Hernandez, and I think it's because, I don't know, it was just a real conversation. I don't know about you, but sometimes you go through these moments in life where you start to question and you start to think about some of your insecurities, especially if you're an artist, and you start thinking, well, wow, this is really hard. Am I making the right choices? Something about Steve being in a state of mind that clicked with that, being in a state of mind with me clicking with that. Oh, it was just a fun conversation, but also a really deep and heady one, and it was very rewarding for me to talk to somebody who is a peer of mine and to commiserate about the state of our lives and how similar they might be at that particular moment. So if you haven't listened to that episode yet, I would recommend it. It was a really good one. And then now on to this week. I gotta say the same. It was a very good episode. I tooting my own horn, but I really enjoyed my conversation here. I have Finn Straley on the show today. Finn, we talk about this, but every comedian knows this. It's like as the people that you start with, they're your class. It's like your freshman class. And then you move to become a sophomore. You start getting these different opportunities where you're on shows, and you start becoming a little more confident in yourself. And then you start to see, oh, there's another class behind me, these freshmen. Finn Straley's like the freshman year of my sophomore year. He's like the class below me. So it's there's a whole group of people that are just sort of the Finn Straley class. I don't think they call it themselves the Finn Straley class, but hey, maybe they should. You know who you are. But it's funny now, because that just keeps happening. And then it's funny now, 10 years later or so, it just all is in the wash. It's just, we're all just, 30-somethings doing comedy. You don't even worry about the class thing. You don't even worry. I have to ask people, how many years have you been doing comedy? Because I cannot keep track of it anymore. And sometimes I'm surprised by the result. But I had a fun time talking to Finn here about doing comedy and what we get out of it, and maybe, just maybe, we should move our lives to something other than comedy, because we might want to do something where we give a little bit more than we get in terms of our career. Comedy, we just get. That's what we want. We want attention. We want laughs. What if, oh my God, what if an exit strategy included doing something where you give rather than take? Potential spoiler? You'll find out. We're going to take a little moment here, and then we're going to talk to Mr. Finn Straley on Exit Strategy. Do what you got to do. Sweet. Let's hear what Finn Straley sounds like.
Hi, Finn Straley here.
Yeah, keep being.
Oh, just riffing.
Just
oh,
riff.
Man.
Do one of your favorite bits.
Wow,
just
want to do a bit
in entirety.
Oh boy,
with crowd work.
Yeah,
in the middle.
I think I need to be brought up. I don't know if I can just do it cold. If you could do like a 5-minute hosting spot, and then bring me up.
This is my podcast.
Yep.
It's called The Worst Idea in the World.
Yeah. Kind of like stand-up role play.
Like, we'll do a show, but as a podcast, and like, I'll host, I'll bring you up.
I'm sure that exists somewhere. Every bad idea has been done.
Yeah. You know what I never, that one, what's that plate? There was that green screen plate, black, Drone Box.
Yeah, Drone Box, yeah.
They used to do open mics, like just to whoever was watching.
Right, I remember that. Yeah, that was crazy.
That was such a bizarre concept.
There were the VR ones. Oh, yeah. And then Acme used to, at the one on that, I don't even know if it still exists. I think it's gone. It was on Fairfax.
Yeah.
They used to record every whole open mic in its entirety that they had. And then they would post it online, like on their YouTube channel. And I think they still exist.
I think they still do. I think I saw somebody mention that.
It's a great way to get a tape.
way to
just get in there, get that raw footage. But I think there must be like, because they're hours they're hours long, so you'd have to really scrub through it. But you can find, Chase Bernstein early sets if you're so interested.
That is crazy to think.
Some comedy nerd someday is gonna do a deep dive and get a real gold mine.
It's gonna be on one of those like really cheap DVDs you get at a gas station kind of things, like before they were famous.
It might already be, yeah.
Oh, why aren't we doing that?
I know. There's so many avenues to make money that we are just not exploring.
We will.
We'll figure it out.
Does Vince Straley have a podcast yet?
I don't. I've been thinking about doing one. I did radio in high school. That was like my main.
I did for a tick too.
Yeah, it's great. It was a really the town that I lived in had a really good like public radio station. Yeah, and my dad did it with them for a long time, and then I did like a radio show with my dad
on public radio.
Like the local public radio station, and we like wrote skits and stuff for it, and it was like really the first like comedy that I ever did was through that. And I feel like I would love doing a podcast. It's pure laziness that I haven't gotten it together.
Yeah, just get a couple mics and you got yourself it.
I know.
It's a little different though than the radio game because it feels very bare bones. Like the one thing that I miss, and this is visual, so no one is going to notice this, but when I did radio in college, the one thing that I missed from those days is like the mic that's on like a thing. And
the swivel
to you.
I like having a huge board with all the buttons.
Oh yeah,
and I like use two, but it feels good to have all of them.
But there's no reason why there is a board that is 4 feet long.
Not at all.
At all.
It could be 2 sliders.
Oh, and then like there also was no reason for this. There was a main studio. And then we had like the soundproof window with another studio on the other side for no real reason.
Yeah, not a lot of production going on.
Not really.
Not a lot of This American Life segments being produced and sent out.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of Tiny Desk concerts.
Sure, yeah. That would be really fun to start doing Tiny Desk concerts for your podcast. Just get a camera crew in. Someone's definitely done that also.
Someone's done that, but you know what? It's whoever gets viral first gets that one.
Yeah.
So you did college. I just haven't talked about college radio in a while. What was the station that you did it at?
Well, I did it in like middle school and high school.
You're like
Sitka. Yeah.
I've been doing radio for 25 years.
Kind of, but I mean, it was and I learned how to do. I remember it was a big deal when I took the board training. Because that was like, I was pretty young. I think it was like, I think it was around the time the recall was happening in Florida. Because there was like, I was like going in to learn how to like do like learning about the newsroom and stuff when all that was
in the middle of a national emergency,
a constitutional crisis. Yeah, it was. But so it was a long time ago. But it was, and I did it in college a little bit. I had a radio station, and then like I produced some like short news segments. I always really liked the idea of being like a radio journalist. That always seemed fun, but I never really pursued it in any meaningful way. Oh man, just a pure idea.
What about straight up drive time?
Oh, I don't think I could handle that. That was never. I was always strictly NPR, like
Straley,
public radio.
NPR,
Whispery with the music in the background that stops right at the central point of the story. That was very much my dream.
Yeah, a very heavily produced kind of thing.
Yeah, I always like that kind of stuff. Or like radio news. I never listened to Drive Time ever until I came to LA, and I like would tune in, and it was just a nightmare.
It's very jarring. And also
it's unpleasant to listen to.
Yeah, it feels like it would also be unpleasant to produce.
Yeah, it doesn't seem fun. It seems like those people aren't having fun.
No.
Because they sound so forced.
Well, it's like because it's something like 4 hours they got to fill from 7 to 11 or whatever.
It's such an unbelievable amount of content.
Ungodly amount of content at ungodly hours, literally every day. It's like the grindiest of grinds. But then like all their stuff really is like, oh, we printed out this thing. And they just came out with a list of the top 10 movies that chicks hate or whatever.
Here's a Christmas presents to buy your mistress or whatever.
Yeah, it's just like whatever fucking BuzzFeed.
Should we write for radio? It sounds easy. I'm sure they're just killing themselves trying to come up with different, like horniest senators or whatever, like pranks.
And then prank calls, obviously.
Yeah, right.
But I feel like we probably could write a solid week of content in about a night.
You'd think so.
Just email it in.
It's got to be one of those things that's like harder than it seems for whatever reason. It also probably seems like one of those things that you have to be a certain type of person for, otherwise you would just kill yourself.
That is true. I feel like it would be a major culture clash.
Yeah.
To walk into a morning time radio show, just you guys, I can't.
Yeah,
I'm also not really morning.
No, yeah, that's another big one. Yeah, I would rather do the working late hours than having to wake up and do a voice.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
That would be a fun shift, like the shift where the show only lasts for like a month because no one's listening because you're on like the worst time.
That was sort of like one of the radios. I started doing that radio show with my dad, and then I stopped doing that, and then I started doing one with my friend in high school. And our initial time slot was like midnight to 2 a.m. or something. So it was like just nobody was up. It was like just talking directly. It was a great way to learn, and like we just did a bunch of weird stuff. It was really fun. But yeah, that's like my ideal. I think is no stakes. I guess nobody listening, making something that no one will ever hear. But sounds great.
Does it exist? There has to be some sort of archive of it. We could dig it up.
I don't know. It was kind of like right before all radio stations were streaming online, so it might just be lost to the ether.
I think that my shows from college exist as real player files.
That rules. Wow.
Which I cannot imagine I don't know that is there anything backwards compatible?
They're gone. That's gone. That data is it no longer exists functionally.
Like don't worry, everybody. We saved it all.
It's
in real player format.
Right. We've got it on a reel to reel. Yeah,
and then I think there's probably like a actual cassette of like when I had to audition.
Right,
I'm sure it's been taped over 1,000 times.
Oh yeah, no way that exists anymore.
Man, what a bummer! Like all this content.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad that very little of my early radio experience has been lost. I'm sure it was probably unlistenable.
Very mortifying.
Yeah, it would be
listen to.
A lot of my parents still have like old cassettes of like the show that my dad and I used to do. Yeah, so that still exists.
Well, at least he was there to helm it.
Yes,
you had the pro.
He guided it very very well.
Was he in radio?
No, he it was just like he was involved with the public radio station. It was kind of like just anybody. It was all volunteer run for the most part.
Okay.
There was a director. They had like paid positions, but then like you could volunteer to. It was basically college radio for the entire town. Yeah. For adults, and it's still great. It's like a very good radio station. They
call in. Let's do it.
Yeah, KCRW.
Maybe
in Alaska.
Maybe they can syndicate this show.
KCAW. That's it. The KCRW was like college station. They had very similar. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, the news department there just won a bunch of awards. And I still do like a radio sketch with my dad every year for Christmas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we do like an improvised sketch with the news department where he's Santa Claus and I'm some other character. Yep. So I guess I do podcast.
It seems like you Well, yeah, you're like, I don't podcast. I actually broadcast.
Yeah, I'm more into broadcasting. I'm more into the live.
I want you to just be that guy. Just take that. Yeah, podcasting's cute, but it just doesn't replace broadcasting.
It doesn't really feel real. Oh, yeah. I don't watch TV. I only watch films.
Oh, he's such an interesting man.
Yeah.
Speaking of Alaska.
Oh, yeah.
You're from Alaska.
Yep.
Now, I don't want you to think that this is the only reason that I have you on, but I do want to explain an exit strategy ongoing dilemma.
Uh-huh.
Now, because it's 2019, I can get all the stats in the world. I can find out where people are listening. I can find out who's downloading where. We've come to a point where all 49 states, other states, have downloaded and listened to this podcast.
Huh.
And Alaska is my number one holdout. Now I need your help.
Wow, you got it. Let me know when this comes out. If this makes it to air, and
if this makes it to air,
I'll push in my among my circles back there.
But I want to know, like, I don't want to be an unwelcome voice in Alaska, because obviously up until now it's been about 2 years.
Yeah,
Alaska has stonewalled me, and I don't understand what's going on there.
It's a very red state. I'm not sure what kind of stuff you have going on here, but
that's true.
That could be part of it. And maybe you just needed more Alaskans on your show.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've gotten Jessica Michelle Singleton on or
not yet.
anybody.
No.
Yeah, you gotta get some more representation.
It's all Alaska from now on.
Yeah. Okay. This is going to be an Alaska themed podcast.
Do they not listen? Do they like listening to artists going through internal struggles? Is that?
Yeah, I think everybody does.
Okay.
They're just like everybody else.
Yeah.
They're just a little bit farther away.
Well, they're how close is an Alaskan to a Canadian? In like just general,
not
general
very
being.
close in my experience. Although I'm from like southeast, which is mostly islands, or that like there's nothing, no road system or anything connecting.
So you're down in like that where
the Panhandle,
goes,
the thumb on the Alaska finger map that you make. And so I'd say it's closest to the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah,
is culturally where what I feel the most like Washington State, kind of, and like those are the sports teams that everybody roots for. It's like mostly
I like that too. It happened to me in Nebraska, where it's like the closest professional.
Yeah,
sports
right. Because that's
to the state.
Yeah, that's just how it has to work.
Yeah,
so Mariners, Seahawks, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like hockey didn't really. There weren't very many Canucks fans that I knew of. It didn't really penetrate.
You guys were Americans, and you were rooting for American teams.
Yes, unless we traveled abroad. That was a big thing before Palin was when you traveled, you could tell people you were from Alaska, and people wouldn't care at all. They wouldn't think of you as an American. They would think of you like as a Canadian or something different.
Yeah,
so then after Palin, she
painted.
put us on the map in I would argue a negative way.
Well, now you're losing all the Alaska listeners.
I know. No, she's very unpopular.
Taking these harsh stands.
Yeah, she abandoned the state after.
Well, once you get in the studios, those lights on your face, you're not going to go back to Alaska.
Yeah, she couldn't give it back. Well, I think she is back there now, but yeah, she really put everybody on the map. But hopefully I'll get you some of those sweet Alaska ears.
Oh, I can't wait. If you're listening in Alaska, hey, there's a whole archive of shows with non-Alaskans, but
probably not going to be as interested in
not
that,
as
honestly. Yeah, this will be a one and done.
I was gonna advertise the Canadian episodes. They're like, they might be, but then you're telling me that's not.
No, I'd say it's they're pretty strongly American.
I think somebody from Calgary maybe was on. It's getting there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's close. Maybe British Columbia. That might be your biggest.
Somebody
your
from
best
BC.
Bet.
Okay,
yeah,
I'll work on it. So I'm guessing that Alaska did not have a thriving and abundant comedy scene.
Not huge. Not where I was anyway.
Is there one?
Apparently in Anchorage there is more.
Yeah,
but that was so far away from me that it might as well. Like I was basically as far from Seattle as I was from Anchorage.
Yeah,
where I was in the States. So. That was not really an option for me. Like I couldn't go up to see like Stanhope at Chilkoot Charlie's or whatever. That wasn't something I could ever do.
Yeah.
And there just wasn't. There are people who do it there now. There wasn't really when I started. When I started comedy in L.A.
Yeah.
Or started stand up here. But in Alaska, I would like host events. That was kind of as close as it got. I was just sort of I was a host on the radio and kind of made it so that I could, my friend and I, who I later hosted my radio show with, we would like host various talent shows.
Yeah.
The Monthly Grind was a big one. It was just a monthly talent show that happened that we would occasionally host or do.
I would love to find
on.
out, like in Alaska, Finn is like huge.
I'm a huge celebrity. I would love to start that. That would be a fun rumor to be able to start.
No one would be able to prove it otherwise.
Absolutely, it would. I should honestly do that. I should make that a thing.
If you went up there and spent $500 on a really cool video, I think you could convince everybody that you're huge.
I mean, I guess it might be doable. It's like I'm from a small town, so people know who I am there.
Yeah.
So I'm technically famous within my town of 9,000 people.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Although, maybe not as much. I've probably been gone so long now that no one would know.
You're like Sarah Palin. You've abandoned.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. I try to go back as much as I can.
Yeah.
But I have done shows there, and it's fun to do shows in my hometown, although it is very scary because it has that feeling of you're doing a show for your entire high school graduating class and like all of your parents' friends, and it feels very much like a check-in of like, are you a fraud? Are you a phony?
Pressure.
Yeah.
The ideal crowd is where you know no one in the crowd rather than literally everyone.
Which is it's so weird how hard that is to explain to people. Because people really assume that it's like, oh, it must be really fun to like do a show for all these people who've known you since you were a baby, and it's like no,
it's the exact opposite.
It's the most nervous I ever get for stand-up, like by far, by not even like rough bar shows where it's like, are they gonna kill me? It's like, oh man, are they gonna like text my dad that I was terrible?
Well, because a rough bar show doesn't have to go well.
No,
who cares?
Yeah, the stakes are so low.
But a show in front of everyone you know has to go well, because you're gonna have to say hi to every one of them after the show.
Yeah, right. And they're gonna have to say hi to your parents or whatever, and they're gonna talk to each other about it.
Finn, his show. It was
interesting.
Good.
Yeah. I feel like I've generally gotten good reviews from my shows back home, but who can say? No one would ever say it to my face that I was terrible. So
it's always every time I go back home for a show, the family shows up, and obviously I'm not going to be like, could you stop? But
that's the thing. You can't be like, please don't come.
It's a totally different vibe when my dad's in the crowd.
Oh yeah, it's so nerve-wracking.
Eric Dodorian did a album record in my hometown.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
And so I was there on the show. So it's this. You've been to Omaha?
Yeah, I've only been to.
Did you go to the O'Leaver's bar?
I don't remember what it was called. I forget what the name of the bar
was. Like a divey bar with like stickers everywhere, albums like it's really like a gritty, grungy.
Is it
place.
a music venue also?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have been there. Okay, yeah.
So it's like that place. Everybody else is just like 30-year-old, kind of the people who, probably got stoned in high school, like just having a beer, watching a comedy show, and then there's my like silver-haired dad standing there in his khaki slacks watching the shows.
That's fun.
Oh, Dad, you're really standing out in this crowd.
Yeah, there's nothing. You just it's part of it.
You just got to go.
It's good that he wants to go.
Yeah. Well, he supported it, and he'll definitely buy the album when it comes out, Eric.
Oh man, there we go, Eric. Hi, Eric.
Hi, Eric. If you're listening, you came here to Los Angeles to do comedy.
Yeah,
obviously, Alaska wasn't doing it. It's interesting to me because there's like. There's that whole class thing. Like, this is my class of comedians, like high school or whatever.
Sure.
I feel like there was mine, and it was like so quickly you came in with a bunch of people as like as a new.
Yeah, it's weird because there's no like.
And it was only like 2 years.
Yeah, it's insane how fast it happens. There's no demarcation or anything, and it all kind of bleeds into itself. Like. But yeah, I mean, it's like, I guess you just remember the people who started right before you, and then the people who start right after you, and then after that, it just gets then
it's
mixed
not
up.
Worth
right.
Exactly.
Yeah, at that point, if you're like still trying to like make friends with the new open micers,
but there's such a like small little window of like why but then you guys were classified as like the new people,
right? Yeah, and I remember when I came in, I think it was just that. Yeah, we started after like your class or whatever had started shows. So I think that's the real.
I guess that is a good demarcation of
because it's like otherwise if we're all starting together, we're all trying to get on like the shows that already exist. Yeah, and then people start their own shows, and then people after that try to get on those shows or whatever.
We were just starting to book those terrible.
Oh my God! Yeah, wow.
So much pride put into it that you were going to be like in a backyard or something, but like looking back on it, it's
yeah.
Now you would just go to it and be like, "Could I go up early? I want to leave."
Yeah. If you're lucky enough to even get booked anymore.
Yeah, well, that's true. Who is in your class, would you say? How do you view it as?
Man, a lot of people have stopped or moved. Yeah. But I would say Paige is probably the like person I've been friends with the longest in comedy, the single person. Also, Pedro. Although Pedro started even a little bit after Pedro Salinas.
Salinas, yeah.
He started like a year after I did, but then we became friends. Yeah. And then he moved to New York, so he's no longer here. But I mean, yeah, I guess Paige and I are the class that's below you. I really can't think of who else. It feels like there is like a group. Man, it really just feels like everybody else I knew at that time who like I started with has stopped. I'm sure there's somebody I'm forgetting who hopefully isn't going to listen.
Very mad right now. Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, then there's also like because there was also that class sort of after me, like with Brad Silnitzer, which is, I mean, we're probably the same class, honestly, because it's like a year. It's like a similar thing where he started like 2 years after I did.
It's just this little window of time, but that makes all the difference of like you group people into like, okay, this is this.
Right,
crew.
yeah. But yeah, I think it's also blended together now. It's hard for me to even piece any of it together.
It's also, you guys had this really unfortunate timing, too, because I felt like when you started and came up was when there was just this explosion of people that came onto the scene.
I do remember that, yeah.
I mean, there was just like, it went from you would go to an open mic night and you would get 5 minutes easy to like, if you happened to get on the show, you were 40th and you got 3 minutes.
Yes, yeah, that was a very and it was
rough.
like even that, and I think that's kind of why so few of us like started our own shows, because when we were starting there were so many shows already, and like every venue had it and it didn't work, or like the venues felt like they were kind of already figured out and everybody already had their lineups. Oh, Ahmed Weinberg is another person.
Oh yeah, he's doing pretty damn good.
He's doing great. Yeah, it's it is weird to be at that point now where it's like there are people from my class who are like having that kind of success.
Yeah,
it's
people
weird.
are starting to break.
Yeah, which is that's really bizarre.
The first couple of late night sets.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, this is... now I have a new thing that I can judge my career.
There are stakes to this.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
This isn't just like a big hang. Yeah, that is wild. And then, there were so many comedians when I first started. That was the thing. Like, I started and then, like... I made the decision where I was like, oh, I want to do stand-up. I want to do comedy. This is the only thing I really enjoy doing, and I want to pursue it to my fullest extent. And then, like, it felt like a month into starting, there was already hearing people complaining, like, there were way too many comics.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that you started at probably the worst and hardest time you possibly
in one of the
could
worst
have.
and hardest places.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, and I always thought of this. Tell me what you think of this. I have this theory of, like, I don't know. It's what is the difference between a comedian who starts out paced at 5 minutes at a time versus a comedian who like only knows 3 minutes? Like that's a huge thing that you had to go through.
Yeah, it's weirdly a big difference. Like just because learning how to do comedy, grinding open mics, it felt like the only option to me. It felt like the way to do it, like to just grind out these 3 minute sets every night. But it teaches you how to do comedy in such a weird way where like when you first get your like actual like 5 minute sets on shows, it feels so weird because all of your bits are like exactly 3 minutes long. So you're like, well, either I'm going to run the light by 1 minute or I'm going to have to cut my set short by 2 minutes.
It's so bizarre. And it's something that I don't think people think about of just like there was a window of time where I felt very good at 3 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
And then 5 minutes, like you just had to really be comfortable
like
with stretching out.
Yeah. And then even 5 minutes is so short to like realistic, like thinking back
nowadays
on it now,
it's, ooh.
I mean, I just remember, thinking back on it of like how I must have really wanted to do comedy badly because I just remember being like, what am I going to talk about for 3 minutes? Like, that's probably bad that's how I was approaching it, where I was like, okay, I need to get on stage, but I have nothing to say.
Yeah.
So I really just approached it from an attitude of like, okay, I need to fill time.
Well, it's incredible, too. Like, I think about it now. Right now, I'm thinking there was times where it was like, okay, I have a 3 minute set to fill, and I can, like, picture in my mind the piece of paper where there's multiple bits written in. Like, somehow you could still fit in many topics into 3 minutes.
So crazy. Yeah, we're like, okay. And then this leads into this. You're, like, getting your segues. Yeah. And
but basically you practice a set that is not useful at all.
Right. Yeah, you're learning. And for an audience that is... incredibly unreliable.
Yeah.
Like for, you see it, you even see it still where it's like people will get their sets that they feel really good about. And it's like, this has only been worked on in front of an open mic audience, which is so hard to tell. And then, you'll see some of those sets sometimes like get in front of real crowds, and it's like they will do well a lot of the time, but it will seem like they're surprised at the parts that work.
Yeah.
Like, because it's not the same. Like, open mic audiences give you such a weird read on everything. And so many bits have probably died just because they were bombing at mics where it's like, in front of like a real audience of like non-depressed people, this would probably be like a decent, or at least like you'd be able to figure out something in a decent
You could
bit.
ride a bit of a wave, but that's like with a performing in front of other comedians. Sometimes you just have to be like, okay, I gotta like a ha. Like,
right,
and then
yeah,
that's
and you're like,
enough.
Okay, and
like,
you listen to who it's from. You're like, okay, so I know like Eric liked
exactly.
that bit, so
God.
so it's probably good. Like, yeah,
it's this science of figuring out how to do it in the worst conditions. But I do think that window of time where you guys were coming up was just like especially difficult.
and I think that is why I feel like my class had an especially large attrition rate or something, where it feels like a lot of people that I started with have quit. Which maybe should tell me something. It feels good to like have at least, because that was just what I always told myself. I was like, just no matter what, you just have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Like, just stick with it and just see what happens. And it's like, now it's at the point where I'm like, it's feeling long. It's but I always knew that it would be a slog. I'd prepared myself. You can only prepare yourself for so much.
Yes.
Like, is what I'm realizing, that you can only prepare yourself for so much grinding before it's like, what is this for? But I don't know. I feel like I still have a few years of grinding left to go before I fully hit that wall.
Well, I had last week I had Steve Hernandez on it, and we were just talking about the same thing of just sort of like, all right, you're at this, because I'm at what am I at? I'm at 10-ish years now.
Yeah.
So you're at that point where it's like, okay, what is the like acceptable way to keep to grind?
Right. Yeah.
Because now, having learned 10 years worth of lessons of like, all right, there is some. You do have to put some, attention into other things in your life. Like, you just have to, family, friends, relationships. Like, you do have to be a well-rounded person. Like, what is the compromise now between knowing that and then also being like, all right, I need to, because this is the weird thing. Like, I feel like I'm so disconnected from the scene. I haven't even seen you.
I know, it's been a long
long time.
Yeah.
Which, you're going to shows and I go to things too, but it's just like,
this scene's also so big still from that glut of people who started. It's like there's still so many shows and people, like, if your schedule changes just like a little bit, it's like you can not see people for years.
For years.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not as plugged in as I was, and then I'm like, well, I got to get plugged back in, but now I'm approaching it from a totally different perspective.
Yes, right. Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to be said for that, like, throwing everything into the fire of comedy, like putting but it's like at the end, if you can go too far with that too. Like, I think there is a lot of value in having a real life outside of it too. And like, and I feel my life is very good. I'm getting married. That's exciting. There's really like, I have like put time into my personal life in a way that I don't regret at all. Yeah. In a way that I sort of felt like was discouraged by people.
Oh, absolutely.
When you're starting out, because like when you listen to you're like listening to You Made It Weird or whatever, when you're in your first year, and it's like so much of it is about like you can't have a girlfriend, you can't have a partner of any kind, you can't like have friends, you're gonna lose all your friends, like you can't have any stable job.
It's very easy to get poisoned with that mentality,
right?
When you don't know any better. But then also, it's just like there's that whole you have to be a broken person to be a comedian, which is that's a very tempting archetype to live as.
Yeah, especially if you tend towards depression at all, where it's like it's such an appealing thing to be able to pin everything on, of like, oh well, I'm creative. That's why I haven't written anything in 6 years.
Yeah,
it's because I'm so creative and weird. That's why I can't make anything.
I just have these weird standards that I can't meet my own self.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is. And there's still something so like romantic about that whole of like being a broken artist or whatever, but it's such bullshit. Like, I don't know, being mad all the time and depressed and angry, it like freezes you up. At least for me. Maybe there are people like that get energy from it, but like I really can't operate when I'm depressed.
Yeah, I can't do it when I'm tired, angry, worried about being broke,
hungry.
Oh God, I can't. I literally cannot do a set. It's a blood sugar thing. I just can't. I literally can't do it.
And you shouldn't have to.
You shouldn't have to.
No.
And now as an adult, 10 years later, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get food before this set.
Yeah.
And that is something I have to do for myself.
Yeah, I guess that's like a lesson you learn when you're first starting out in your teens or 20s or whatever. It's like most of that is just bad planning and being bad at being an adult still. So once you figure that stuff out, it's like, oh, you can do mics and sets and go to shows. And also be happy.
Yeah,
it's possible to do both and like still be putting stuff out. It just takes a lot of work.
Planning.
Yeah, it's just scheduling your time appropriately.
You just have to be a total nerd.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. Just to make sure you look out for number one, and then you go out and you do.
Yeah.
I remember. I just want to bring this up before we move on. I just wanted to remind you that I think the angriest I've ever seen you. The angriest I've ever seen Finn Straley is when I misidentified a skateboard move as an ollie.
Yeah, man, unbelievable. That's a really basic trick, Jeff. It's like the only one anybody knows.
I don't even know where the visual of the trick happened, but I called it an ollie, and you glared at me.
Unbelievable.
It's you can see it. It's in his face. It's brewing up more.
I'm still mad.
Anger.
This is very Mark Maroney of you.
Well, this
is our famous old beef.
Are we good now?
No, I refuse to forgive. Decidedly not good.
I have no other information about this memory. I just have always associated with I made Finn Straley very mad once, misidentifying something. I don't know either.
I don't even skateboard. That's the craziest part about all of this.
Why were you so invested?
I don't know. I think I like the idea of being a skateboarder, but I have absolutely no bravery or interest in actually doing it. Yeah.
Oh well, I mean,
I watch a lot of skate videos.
Yeah, I was gonna say like maybe you're a play-by-play guy.
Yeah,
that
could be a great late career for me.
Well, hey, while we're talking about it, I'm giving you ideas. Let's get into it.
That sounds great.
Obviously we've talked about how much investment in personal life you have to put to the side, investment in time and stress, all that. You invest so much of your energies into comedy. I'm going to take that all away. Mm-hmm. You got to put all of that energy into something else. You got to go down a different path. What would be an exit strategy for Finn Straley?
Well, I'm working at a warehouse as a day job right now. So I guess one exit strategy for me would be just fully going into hard manual labor.
Yeah. Like fully blue collar.
Yeah. That's honestly something I've considered. Another more real answer is one of my fiance Emily's best friends is the union organizer.
Yeah.
And she's given me a lot of resources about like how to get into that if I wanted to. And there's LAUnionjobs.com. There's like a ton of job openings, especially in the summer.
Yeah.
But it's really intense, and it's like apparently, to get one of those internships and that's paid, of course, that would be insane if the union jobs were doing that. But it's like it's a job. But for the other people I've talked to who have done it say that it's like you really can't do anything else while you're doing it because it is like
all consuming.
It's kind of an all-in thing, and I'm sure it's a thing where if you're in it, like the people around you really expect you to be all the way in it too. And if it's not really a job you can kind of half-ass because it's extremely important.
It seems like most of your job is to inspire people to make a huge decision.
So if you're like, ooh, actually, I have a mic at 6. They draw at 6:30, and I really need to make sure that I get on the list.
Doing this podcast,
right? Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, it's not really. So that maybe it would be possible to do both at the same time. In my as like a dream career, that would be. It sounds incredible to do a job that I believe in.
Yeah,
that seems like that it would actually affect the world in a positive way that doesn't involve going to law school or like getting some other extensive training or something.
Well, it kind of feels like, I mean, there are going to be elements of, your performance that are going to come into play as well.
And I think it sounds like doing that kind of stuff, stand-up does prepare you well for it because there's so much rejection and like so much of it is like, trying to get people to like you who have every reason not to.
You got to win them over.
Yeah, you got to win people over.
You got to give them a pretty heady concept.
Yeah,
in a very limited amount of time.
Yeah, you have to get people to act against possibly their immediate gain for future self-interest, which I guess doesn't really have anything to do with comedy. But
well, kind of. I mean, people don't want to go to comedy.
You have to convince people. Yeah, but in the long run, they'll be happy they went. We
Hopefully.
hope. They're creating a memory.
Yeah. So what is drawing you to union organizing? Just sort of the wanting to do something positive?
Yeah, I think my dad was really interested in like the Wobblies and like the one big union and stuff, like all of that. So that's like the history of it is really interesting to me. I also for a long time was doing or still am doing like food delivery, like Postmates, and just kind of gig economy hell jobs.
So
well, and I got tired of like podcasts for a while. No offense.
Well, it's okay.
But I was listening to
Alaska.
audiobooks. Maybe it's an Alaska thing. But I was listening to audiobooks, and I got Audible, and I downloaded my free Audible book of the People's History of the United States.
Howard Zinn, yeah.
So I listened to all of that while delivering food to like rich people in Beverly Hills.
Were you just like mad the whole time?
By the end of it, I was just like screaming in my car, like probably the best way to radicalize yourself, although it hasn't led to any real action.
But it's in there now.
Yeah, that will never not be in my brain.
It's fused in you forever.
Experience of just being like,
it's truly like a seminal book that you read where you're like, oh, this is how the world works.
Right.
Like, this is how the country works.
Yes.
And to have done it while also like experiencing this new radical modern version of it.
Yeah, well, something that like Howard Zinn couldn't have even possibly predicted, like an insane way that capitalism has like completely gone off the rails.
Yeah.
Like, people paying you $2 to drive them eggs in the morning is just like
Star Trek modern version of everything in that book. So that's in there, baby.
Yeah, that's never coming out. So that was around the time that I was like, I gotta do something. I need to. I can't.
Inspired to act,
right? A little bit, but obviously not enough to quit stand up and actually pursue this thing that I believe would be good for the world.
Well, it's only hypothetical. In this situation.
Right. But I think that's probably the genesis of that idea, and getting to know my Emily's friend who does that, and seeing that I didn't really even realize that was a job.
Yeah, I didn't either
before.
until you mentioned it.
Like,
really.
I didn't realize that was something that was like an option. I guess in my mind, unions were just something that was always started just by the people in there. But it's like there's people who their whole job is like organizing, and that's
somebody has to come
incredible.
to them and give them an option to do it.
Yeah, for the most part,
it's pretty complicated situation. I mean, there's different eligibilities and things, all that. And somebody's got to think about.
So much going against it. Like
I was going to ask you about that. Is it? I guess in my mind, I am picturing like I don't know, a movie from the '70s or something where there's going to be some like tough guys, being like Gil Finn,
somebody with a big mustache. Yeah. I think there's that's definitely a part of it. There's an element of. It seems like a life of adventure that it could attract, and it's like it's a world where there are bad guys, who are truly bad.
Yeah.
The people trying to bust unions are despicable people who are worthy of being undermined at every turn. So like it's you could have a just conflict in your life, which.
Kind of rare, actually.
I've never heard of anyone having.
Yeah.
I've never heard of a just conflict
Like
in
a
my
straight
entire...
up black and white, this is right, this is wrong.
And maybe there's something appealing about that coming from stand-up, which is all about choosing meaningless conflicts.
Manufacturing conflicts just because you need to heighten and talk about it.
And dissatisfaction. And
talking about something that bugged you 5 years ago that legitimately doesn't bug you anymore.
Right, that's so unimportant compared to your family getting health care. The fact that there's an option to fight for things in a real way that matters.
Yeah, there's some actual good at the end of it.
Yeah, right. And where it's even with stand-up, it's I believe that it does maybe have a positive effect on the world. I believe that less and less every year, but
it's not a very definite, you can point to it.
Yeah, but there is some value to entertainment, I guess, and to letting people relax, cultivating a space where people are able to feel good. That's an important thing, and that's something that is worthy of pursuing.
The world needs entertainment.
Yeah, right. I think I'll get into my head a little bit about being what are you why are you pursuing this selfish thing?
Yeah.
You're just doing it to draw attention to yourself and aggrandize yourself. And it's that's obviously true, but at the same time it's well, there is some value to it, but probably not as much as union organizing or going to law school and representing immigrant families. There's always things that you could be doing.
It's not for everybody.
Sure. And I'm probably too dumb to actually do any of that. I probably am where I should be.
Yeah. But you can always advocate for it.
Always advocate for it. And it's of all the meaningless entertainment that's a distraction that people consume, stand-up's probably one of the ones that makes them practice empathy the most, and
it does cut through a lot of bullshit. The right bit can really send a message to a lot of people in a short amount of time.
Yeah, and
ideally,
ideally, and it's if you're doing it with the intention of saying something and communicating some kind of a message or a belief that you have, that's that can have a positive effect on the world. Yeah. So far, I don't know of anyone who's made a positive effect on the world with stand-up.
I don't think I've ever cracked a code of a joke that
apparently are all monsters.
Is meaningful, yeah.
Yeah, but
somebody's gonna. Though.
Surely it's possible.
People do.
Yeah, people do it.
All right, but let's say union organizer.
Right.
Let's just flesh it out a little bit here. Okay, so in this hypothetical situation, now you live in Los Angeles for entertainment purposes.
Yes.
But now that you have this new job, that doesn't really play into it as much. Is there a place you would want to practice this job in particular? The world is your oyster.
It would have to be somewhere with an industry, with lots of industry that is available for organizing. LA seems like a pretty great place for that. There's a lot of people here, and a lot of businesses, a lot of industry happens, and a lot of strong unions. You
might be in the perfect place.
I would probably stay in LA, and I like living here. I enjoy it.
You could be the guy that cracks the code on this Uber Lyft shit.
Oh God,
get them something.
Yeah, or a comedian union.
That's true too.
The great white whale of union organizing.
God.
They try it. Yeah, it's been tried, and
it's been tried.
It's a fascinating problem because it's such an individual thing, but it's it does seem like it will never happen for all kinds of reasons. But
the comedy clubs in the 70s, there was picket lines and strikes.
Yes.
And bad blood all around. They went through a lot of shit, and then now that just means that you perform, you get $30 or whatever,
some token amount, like gas money in the 70s.
But that doesn't take into account any of the other outside time outside of that short amount of performance time.
Right, of course. It's big. It's a prey to it's basically the same argument as the NCAA athletes not getting paid, where it's they're on a stage where they can where they get exposure or whatever, but then such a small percentage of people ever make that happen, and then it's just not a sustainable thing. But and then also it's a type of it's a work that requires unpaid labor.
Yeah,
sometimes you can't expect to get paid for every set You can't. That you do. Like you have to do so many sets.
Imagine if every time you went to Echoes Under Sunset and you hosted that open mic in 2012 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that is an expectation that comedians need to change at some point. Of like, you should be, but then it's like, what's a comedian? What is the barrier to calling yourself a comedian?
Well, I think if you're up there the whole damn time, that's a job.
Yeah. For sure.
A host is a job.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
By the way, you will not be getting paid for this appearance.
Well, I will be speaking to my union, my podcast guest union.
Oh, man. Yeah, just skip the comedy, skip the Lyft, skip Uber podcast union. Actually, I have heard rumblings of that, too.
Yeah.
I think something...
It would be good.
Honestly... No, joking aside, I do feel like there is a sea change coming.
Yeah.
And you might be right there at the beginning of it at the time where, it needs you the most.
Yeah, it could be. Man. No? Yeah, it could be worth just learning what it's all about. Actually learning what it even is first would probably help.
Finn's going to go home and just Google union.
What did I talk about? Yeah, what is a union? Who is it?
I have a feeling you're gonna have a pretty heady drive home tonight.
I mean,
a lot to think about.
Couldn't possibly be any headier than driving around delivering food to people while listening to
Howard's Inn.
Yeah, to Howard's Inn. Possibly the headiest experience of my life up to this point.
That just seems like.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, either gonna become a union organizer or write like radical science fiction.
And then you could become the L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah, sure. I guess
that's one or the other.
All right. Yeah.
We have options.
I'll take it. I'll take both.
Well, maybe we'll get you back on another time and we can explore L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah, that could be cool. Cult Leader is a good one, actually. Yeah.
I like how your ideals just switch on a dime.
It's either fighting exploitation or exploiting people.
They have some really great real estate, those cults.
They figured something out. Yeah. It's a good loophole.
Well, before we get down turning you into the next Charlie Manson, we're going to take a little break. Mm-hmm. We're going to come back. And now we've talked so much about these, selfless, idealistic things. Now we're going to go the complete opposite direction. We're going to have you sell out to capitalism big time. You're going to choose the sponsor for this week's episode.
Sweet.
Right after this, we're going to be back with more Finn Straley. I'm very curious. Finn Straley. We don't have sponsors on the show. We don't have some box delivery service that brings you a meal with a promo code. We got to have the guest choose the sponsor, and I think this is your time to shine. Who is the sponsor for the Finn Straley episode of Exit Strategy?
I would like to nominate for sponsor the Los Angeles Dodgers.
The LA Dodgers.
Yep.
All right, let's talk Dodgers for a second.
Okay.
I want you to. You're following the team here?
Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna have to bring me up to speed. This is my baseball situation. Mm-hmm. I usually don't tune in till about the All-Star break.
Okay, that's totally fair. Yeah.
So how are they doing this year?
Fantastic.
Doing well?
An incredible season.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got a good season building up.
Oh, yeah.
Who are some of the stars? Who are some of the hot items?
Cody Bellinger's your main guy.
Cody, baby.
Oh, man. Such a sweet boy. Very handsome. Was hitting over 400 into May, which is insane.
These young kids.
Yeah, Jock Peterson is also having a great season, kind of under the radar. Cody's really, the main star, but Jock's doing some really good work. Some really fun young rookies also, which is
it does
always
feel
a
like
treat.
A very young team.
They're
which
very
is
young,
fun.
and it's fun because it's like the kind of one of the seasons now where everything's really cooking from the farm system. So it's like you got, Corey Seager, Cody Bellinger, everybody, and then they've made some really fun additions to Justin Turner from the Mets is having a mediocre season, but he's just going to be always there.
But it just feels like a spunky team.
Yeah, they're spunky. And then, the Alex Verdugo's the rookie this year. Will Smith just got called up for a little bit, which is fun for a lot of reasons. Just mostly his name, but also he hit a walk-off home run for his first home run.
That you are thinking of.
Yeah.
Does he come up to a Will Smith song? He doesn't.
He comes up to the Fresh Prince.
Oh, perfect.
And his first career home run was a walk-off in L.A. against the Phillies, which is
this guy's.
You can't write this stuff.
When they make the new Ken Burns documentary,
Oh yeah,
this will get a little.
I want to be the Billy Crystal so bad.
Isn't that the dream?
Oh my God, to be the Billy Crystal, I'll watch my special cut of the Ken Burns. That's only the Billy Crystal parts to get ready for it.
To give an interview where there's just a bunch of books behind you.
Oh God, yeah, and really nice brown tones. Just looks great. Yeah, I've really I've kind of followed the Dodgers since I actually even before I moved to LA. I have family here, and I like visited them one summer, and they took me to a game and had good seats, and I was like, this is great. So I just kind of started following them a long time ago, and then when I moved to LA, I like listened to their games on the radio a lot, driving around doing open mics. So it was kind of one of the first things that made me feel like, okay, like I live here. I have I follow the team that is here.
Yeah.
And
once you memorize the lineup of a team,
that's
you live at that city.
And there's a point where I kind of made a decision. I was like, I'm just going to decide to be a Dodgers fan.
Yeah.
Because I can do that. That's an option. I was raised in the Pacific Northwest. The Mariners are endless suffering. They'll bring me no joy for the foreseeable future.
You don't need that in your life.
It probably makes me a terrible person to switch allegiances to a team like that. But you know what? That's what LA's all about. Reinvention,
this
baby.
This is where you live, man. You have every right to be an LA
I feel like
fan.
it's fine. And I just and then this is the first year where I've kind of I pretty much always followed the Dodgers season and we'll go to games and then listen to games on the radio.
Yeah.
But this is the first season where I'm really trying to follow the whole league more.
It's hard.
It's really hard.
Really hard.
There's so much, and that's a thing that I think I really like about baseball is that it's the amount of it that happens is infinite functionally because there's more baseball every day than you could ever watch in your lifetime, and there's more written about baseball every day than you could ever read. So you kind of get to pick your experience with it a little bit.
So how do you do that? What is your in?
I listen to podcasts. A lot. I listen to. I more recently started listening to a Fangraphs podcast and the Ringer coverage. So and just to get a general idea
of what's going on,
the storylines,
exactly.
And then I'll read Dodgers blogs and stuff, and then they'll usually have links for. And then the MLB Network actually they get really good writers Mike Petriello, who wrote about the Dodgers for a long time. He had a Dodgers blog that I started following when I moved to LA, and then he's now writing at the MLB for MLB.com. So they just kind of have a good stable of baseball writers there, who just put out stories every day.
Feels like a good time to be a baseball fan.
It's fun. Yeah, it's interesting.
There's something there.
People are so aggressive about how boring they find it when you try to talk to them, but it's man, I just think it's so fascinating, and it's it's a century old. It's got so much.
The fact that they're still basically playing the same game that they played for.
I mean, barely.
A long
but
time. Well, there's some weird things that you don't have to talk shop about.
This can become a baseball podcast
real easy.
Yeah.
No, this reliever thing.
I know. Yeah, the opener. What is it?
We'll get into sabermetrics and all that stuff.
I mean, it's definitely a function of some kind of anxiety or depression.
It's definitely something you can dig into. It's a project.
Yeah, it is. It really feels like it's it was either this or getting into building model boats or something. That was
this one at least gets you out of the house.
I love going to be, and it's so fun. But I would love. And that was another where I was like, oh, what if I had because I've done social media stuff before. I was like, well, wouldn't it be fun to be the social media manager for the Dodgers or something? But then I thought more about it, and I was like, that sounds like an absolute nightmare.
The hours would be pretty hilarious.
Hours would be awful, and just I enjoy watching and following games so much that if I had to tweet during them and engage with people,
you'd have to
fans,
cut out GIFs while you're watching it, so you could make so you could slam the other team with a petty tweet.
Yeah, it would be an absolute nightmare. But
you just want to enjoy the game. Don't sully it with.
I don't really want. Yeah, I don't want to turn the thing that I like into my job. Ultimately,
are you rocking this Time Warner cable? Are you even? You can't watch the games. That's the problem.
Maybe cut this out. Illegally stream them.
All right. Okay. Well, details forthcoming.
Yeah, and I mostly listen to it on the radio.
Okay.
And I love. This is really.
Inside baseball?
Inside. Oh, man. Wow. We really did it. We really did it. We got there. I've been listening to like non-Dodgers games because I have the MLB app, and you can like listen to. You can stream like radio stations. Like you can you can listen to like Phillies broadcasts or whatever. And so you hear the whole broadcast, like you hear the local ads.
Oh, that's
for
fun.
the affiliate, which I love. And like my favorite is the Phillies. Whenever you listen to Phillies games, there'll be like almost it feels like every ad break. There's one PSA about why you shouldn't commit insurance fraud, like which I just love.
Specific.
It's like, hey, listen, Philadelphia sports fans, we know you want to commit insurance fraud.
We've been over this.
Oh my God.
Again.
Yeah. Detroit, I think, is the Masons are a big sponsor. There's like so many weird things. And like all the announcers are so great where they just like, it's basically listening to a podcast where there's like a baseball game happening where it's like, I've listened to broadcasts where the announcers just talk about like musical instruments they have tried to learn to play.
It's a lot of time
like,
to fill.
What it would be like to be a tugboat captain. Like
See, for the people who call baseball boring, they're not understanding this thing of like, just because there's a lot of time, it's filled with the most interesting and crazy shit.
Yeah, it's all about minutia.
No other games going into the stands because they noticed some crazy kid doing something,
doing
some
a weird
dance. Yeah. No other sport is doing this, so you got to get onto board with the baseball right now.
Yeah, I guess maybe my sponsor is baseball.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's fair.
MLB.
We'll tweet at the Dodgers, at MLB, at Cut4, and Ken Burns. We'll see if we can get you like at least a ticket.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Tell him Finn sent you.
Hell yeah.
And as far as if there's anything Finn Straley related that people might want to know about, is there anywhere you want to point people to? To learn more.
Social media, Twitter at Finn Straley. That's it.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Don't ask for any more.
No.
Well, this has been fun, Finn. Thanks for coming.
Thanks,
I'm glad
Jeff.
we get to catch up.
Yeah, this was fun.
You got to start a podcast so that we can catch up again.
I'll have you on mine.
Okay,
I'm going to steal your idea.
All right,
I'll take
it's
this
a podcast called Inside Baseball.
Perfect.
All right, we've done it. Thank you so much for coming on, Finn. Really appreciate it, folks. We'll see you next week on Exit Strategy.